Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today we are revisiting a video that I have done a couple times in the past where I take the responses from my audience and I try to build the perfect palette according to those answers. This is so interesting to me to see how the answers change over time. I think that just indicates overall people's preferences shifting through the years, and also probably my audience demographic shifting through the years as well. I have done this video twice before, so I'll link those previous perfect palette videos down in the description box if you want to check them out and see what older palettes that I've designed with this method actually ended up looking like. This year's perfect palette was designed using single shadows from a few different brands. So I do have some ColourPop shadows in here, of course. I have some Terra Moon's Cosmetics shadows and some Sydney Grace shadows. I'm not 100% sure if all of these shades are still available or not. I'm not really creating this palette with the intention of you to go out and buy the exact same thing. You can definitely pull from your current collection. You can even look at already assembled palettes to see if you can find some of these shades. If you see a combination in here, or if you see some shadows in here that just really intrigue you, you really may be able to find these same or similar shades elsewhere, either already in your collection, or if these shadows are not available currently, you can probably find something similar online as well. For me, this is more just a fun exercise, a fun experiment. I love creating my own palette color stories. I've done this a lot on my Insta stories. It's just something that I really enjoy. So we're just gonna have some fun with it. You don't have to go and get these exact shadows. You can probably find these shades already in your collection somewhere. Now I'm going to take you through my process, how I chose these shades and why, and then I'll put them all together in the palette, show you why they're laid out the way that they're laid out, because I think that's a big part of creating a palette as well. And then I'll also show you a little tutorial using my perfect palette for this year to get this eye look that I'm wearing today. So let's get into the questions and actually building this palette. The very first thing we need to do is decide which size palette we're going to use. Now, according to the poll results, we definitely need to choose a smaller palette. So it was either going to be a 9 pan or a 12 pan. I decided to go with the 12 because it's just more fun when you get to pick more colors, frankly. Now, I'm going to go through the color questions because this is going to start dictating which shades I can choose from. The very first color question I had was, do you want more red and orange, or do you want more blue and green? And that was really going to help determine where the first couple of columns of my palette was going to go. So blue and green was the very, very definitive winner. So I started picking out a couple of shades I was interested in. This one called Martian from Terra Moon's, ColourPop's Conjure Up, always a favorite for me. It's such a beautiful matte emerald green. And then another ColourPop favorite is Glass Bull, and another from Terra Moon's. This one's called Moontide. It looks so much lighter here in the pan, but I'll show you swatches in a little bit. It's a very beautiful shifty blue shade. The next color question was, I want more pink or I want more yellow. Pink, again, overwhelmingly the winner. So it seems like this palette is going to have a nice little variety of colors here. So I chose two pink shades, this matte one called KK from ColourPop, and then a really shifty blue to pink duochrome from Sydney Grace called Ladies Dancing. That one kind of covers two things, blues and pinks. I try to do that with a lot of shades. You'll see, make them fit into multiple categories as far as these answers go. Now this one was a little bit closer between silver and gold, so I decided to go with a different twist on gold. We have a white to gold duochrome and then a more golden neutral matte shade here. just so that it wasn't the same standard metallic gold that probably everybody thinks about when they think of gold. And then I picked a couple of other shades that fit multiple categories. So a golden pink shade from ColourPop called So Good. And then this Terra Moon's shade Martian also fits 2 categories because it's sort of a golden green, and we've already covered those colors. Then we'll see a few more questions here that can shape which shades I chose. I asked about special textures as far as duochromes, cream shadows, and pressed glitters. And I know that it looks here like cream shadow was marked as the right answer, but the winner was definitely duochrome, so I chose a bunch of duochrome shades. I also asked about finishes, more mattes than shimmer, more shimmer than matte, and the definite winner was an even split between mattes and shimmers. So in this 12-pan palette, I'll have 6 matte shades and 6 shimmer shades. I also asked the audience if they would prefer more neutrals than colors, more colors than neutrals, or an even split between neutral and color. And I'm so happy that an even split won because that is definitely my personal preference in a palette. So these things also helped me to shape the supporting shades, kind of the other neutral shades that I didn't really zero in and talk about. And there was also a very, very definitive lean towards jewel tones versus brighter or neon type of colors. And I definitely went with that theme, except for maybe the Sydney Grace shadow, but it fits so many others that it just felt like it was going to work with the theme. And when you see it in context with these other shades, it does take on a more jewel toned type of aura. At least maybe I've just looked at this too long and it seems that way to me. Now you can see me loading the shades into the palette here. Next, I'm going to give you a really close-up look at this palette with all of the shade names laid on top. That way, if you're interested in recreating this palette or checking your collection, you can pause here and take a screenshot. That way you can get all of the shade names labeled nicely here with the shadows behind. And hopefully that'll give you a nice visual reference if you want to recreate this palette. It definitely was designed intentionally to be this blue and green half and then more of a neutral pink half. And I think that when we get up more than 9 or so shades, it is helpful and more user-friendly when the shades are laid out with intention like this. And then I also intentionally put them in trio columns, so each one of these 3 shadow columns could be used easily to create one simple look. I just love to think about the logistics of a palette in this way and try to design the color scheme to be pleasing to the eye but also as user-friendly as possible. Here are all the shades swatched on my arm. That way you can get an idea of not only what the whole color story looks like applied to the skin, but I also want you to see the variety of textures, these beautiful shifty shimmers. This is definitely the type of palette that I find exciting, that I find inspiring. I love a palette that is right on that sweet spot between being approachable and user-friendly, but also inspiring and hopefully a little bit exciting as well. And I really think this color story captures that feeling quite well. I can imagine dozens of different looks, from easy 2 shadow, neutral, kind of throw it on and go looks, to really, really shimmery, bold, colorful looks. And that's always exciting to me in a palette. So that was the process of designing this palette. Now I want to show you some of these shades in action. So I'll show you a quick little tutorial using my perfect palette, and then I'll wrap up all my thoughts at the end. I really, really like the way this palette turned out. This is definitely the kind of color story that I gravitate towards. I love these jewel tones. I love these shimmers. All of the shadows in here just have a great formula that work well together. They work well on the eye. For just being 12 shades, I think there's so many looks that can come out of a palette like this. You could definitely go all neutral. You could do all kinds of really, really colorful looks. You can do a sort of mix of neutral and color like I'm wearing today, which is definitely my preferred type of look. My Instagram friends did a great job answering these questions and helping me to create this palette. I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. I would love to hear what you think about the process of creating this perfect palette. Is this the kind of color story that you like? What kind of shades would your perfect palette have? I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. No, that's not what I meant to say. Words. They're super hard. I gotta go do a phone call here in a minute. Look how cute these little cloud earrings are. They're like a little white to pink ombre, but they have these little butterflies in them. I love these. I love By Milk line earrings, obviously. The heat is so loud because there's a vent right outside my door of my office, and my office is in my basement, so my heater and furnace and all that stuff is all down here, and it's right in the next room, so it's really loud, and that's just the way it is. It's really, really cold here this weekend. Really cold. It was like 20 degrees, but with 30-mile-per-hour winds, so it's just awful. I don't like cold weather, and I don't like winter weather. I know a lot of people do like it. It's just not for me. It's not for me. My skin gets so dry, just painful to even like breathe it. Sinuses get all dry. It's rough. I have an incredibly Nordic ancestry, so I'm just a little bit let down by my genetics. I feel like I should have been better prepared for this. Maybe that's not how that works. I don't know. I have this guy. What? That. Okay. Shiny. What was I just saying? That's a wrap. Eyeshadow dust flying everywhere. Cool. That was fun. Thanks for playing along. Thanks for hanging out. I'm glad you're here. And you already know what I'm gonna say. I love your face. Okay, I'll see you soon. Come back to the channel. I'll be here. You'll be here. It'll be a fun time. All right. See you then. Okay. Bye.